We thought it would be easy, a routine operation, eliminate the straggler, secure the sector and move on. Our war machine had crushed dozens of species before. What was one more? The reports on humans were underwhelming. No exoskeleton, no natural weapons, no telepathic coordination. Primitive, muscle-driven movement. The analysts assured us their only advantage is intelligence, and even that is unimpressive. We should have questioned the reports. We should have asked why a species with no advantages had never been conquered, but we didn't. We landed with overwhelming force. Dozens of us, all armed with plasma rifles, all trained for battle. The human, he was alone, unarmored, unarmed. It should have been over in seconds, and yet it wasn't. The moment he saw us, he didn't freeze, he didn't panic. He just looked at us and grinned, not a grimace of fear, not a snarl of defiance. An actual grin, like we were part of some game. That was the moment we should have run. We moved in, careful, precise, standard formation, cover every angle. But the human, he moved differently. He didn't react like the others we had conquered. He anticipated. Before we even fired, he shifted. Before we blocked his path, he was already somewhere else. He was reading us. We opened fire. Plasma bolts burned the ground, tore through the air. He should have died, but he didn't. He twisted, turned, dodged. And when we finally hit him, he didn't fall. Blood dripped, but he stayed on his feet. Then we heard something that shattered our confidence faster than any counterattack. Laughter. Not strained, not desperate. Genuine amusement. That all you got? Our weapons hummed, ready to fire again. But something was wrong. We hesitated. And in war, hesitation is death. That was our first mistake. There would be more. He lunged, too fast, too strong. His fists broke through our armor like it was nothing. One strike caved in a helmet. Another snapped a rifle in half. He wasn't supposed to be this strong. The analysts said nothing about this. They called humans fragile, weak. They were wrong. We tried to regroup. He didn't let us. He fought like he had been fighting his entire life. Every move calculated, every strike devastating. One of us tried to flee. The human saw, and that grin widened. "You're fast," he said, "not fast enough." Then he ran, not away, toward us. We had faced monsters. We had battled giants. Nothing had ever terrified us like that charging human. We came to conquer. Instead, we ran for our lives. The War Council had been confident, too confident. The invasion of Earth wasn't just planned. It was considered a formality, another species to be pacified, another world to be absorbed into the empire. And why not? The data was clear. No natural armor. Their skin was soft, vulnerable. No biological weapons, no claws, no fangs, no venom, no exoskeleton. Just fragile bones held together by organic tissue. No psionic abilities, no mental links, no hive coordination, no advanced sensing. Their technology wasn't the worst we had seen, but it wasn't special. Their ships weren't the fastest, their weapons weren't the deadliest, their defenses weren't impenetrable. There was nothing remarkable about them, or so we thought. The analysts called them resilient. We laughed at that. Resilience was just a fancy word for slow death. It didn't matter how stubborn a species was. When faced with superior firepower, all living things broke. We had seen it 100 times, so when a lone human soldier was reported to be holding ground against our forces, we didn't believe it. When an entire squad failed to bring him down, we called it a fluke. It wasn't. We should have known something was wrong when we reviewed the battle footage. The human didn't fight like a desperate survivor. He fought like someone who was having fun. Even as plasma scorched his body, even as he took hits that should have killed him, he kept moving. He kept adapting. He refused to die. It didn't make sense. A hit that would have shattered the bones of a lesser species only made him stumble. A wound that should have left him crippled barely slowed him down. We miscalculated, because what we had mistaken for weakness was something else entirely. Pain, tolerance. Humans didn't just endure damage. They ignored it. Most species, when injured, would retreat, protect themselves, do anything to stop the pain. Not humans. They pressed forward. They used pain as fuel, and that wasn't their only advantage. There was something else, something far worse: adaptability. Most warriors had patterns, predictable movements, tactical habits. Once we analyzed their combat style, we could counter them. Not him. He learned. Every dodge, every counterattack. It was changing, evolving, improving, mid-fight. One of our best sharpshooters had him in his sights. A perfect shot. No chance of escape. The human moved before the trigger was pulled, not because he saw it, not because he sensed it, because he knew. He was reading us like a book, anticipating, calculating. The weak human had become a nightmare, and as the reports came in, as more squads fell, as entire outposts were lost, we realized something. We weren't hunting him anymore. He was hunting us. This was supposed to be easy. A textbook invasion. The fleet had positioned itself in orbit, weapons primed, drop pods rained down, delivering our warriors to the planet's surface. Our shock troopers hit key targets: military installations, communication hubs, power grids. Standard procedure. The first wave landed. No resistance. That should have been our first warning. We expected an immediate counterattack, a panicked scramble, to defend their cities. But the humans vanished. Civilians were gone, military units nowhere to be seen. Our forces moved unchallenged through empty streets, abandoned buildings, silent highways. We assumed fear had broken them, that they were hiding. We were wrong. The first explosion took out an entire platoon. A roadside vehicle, harmless at a glance, detonated with enough force to tear through our armor. A trap, then another, and another. They were waiting, watching, letting us walk right into their death traps. It wasn't just bombs. It was ambushes, snipers, picking off officers with precision. Small, mobile squads attacking from multiple directions, then fading away before we could retaliate. Every engagement was on their terms. Our soldiers weren't fighting an army. They were being hunted. Then came the radio chatter. Squad 6 is gone. No survivors. They're hitting supply lines. Our forces are cut off. Something's in the trees. We can hear them moving, but we can't see them. We're not fighting soldiers. We're fighting ghosts. Panic set in, and then the screaming started. Not from us. From them. We had assumed humans feared pain. We had assumed they would break like every other species, but their screams weren't of fear. They were war cries, echoing through the battlefield, growing louder, closer. It wasn't a retreat, it was a charge. Then we saw them. They weren't in uniform. Some wore mismatched gear, scavenged weapons, makeshift armor. Others had nothing but old rifles and raw determination. It didn't matter. They moved like predators, fast, precise, unstoppable. And they didn't just fight, they enjoyed it. One of our warriors managed to wound a human, a plasma bolt searing. Through his shoulder, the human grinned, then he laughed. And then he kept fighting. They should have been exhausted. They should have run out of supplies. They should have broken. But the harder we hit them, the stronger they became. We brought war to their world. They turned it into hell. This wasn't an invasion anymore. It was survival for us. This wasn't war. War follows rules. War has strategy, logic, predictability. This was something else. We had superior numbers. We had better weapons, better technology, better training. On paper, the humans should have been nothing against us, but reality doesn't care about paper. Reality was the sound of distant gunfire at all hours, coming from nowhere and everywhere at once. Reality was watching the finest warriors of our empire fall to creatures who should have been begging for mercy. Reality was the fear crawling into our minds, whispering the same question over and over. What are we fighting? They don't stop. Our forces tried to regroup, to fortify key positions. It didn't help. The humans were relentless. They fought in the day, in the night, in the rain, in the cold. They never stopped moving. They should have been exhausted. Their bodies should have failed. But somehow they kept running, kept shooting, kept killing. One of our commanders captured a wounded human soldier. His leg was shattered. His body was covered in burns. He should have been unconscious. Instead, he looked the commander in the eye and spat blood in his face. He laughed. "You think this hurts? You should see boot camp." We executed him on the spot, but his laughter never left us. Their definition of pain is different. We learned something horrifying about humans. They don't fear pain. They use it. We watched as a human, missing an arm, tied a belt around his shoulder, picked up a gun, and kept fighting. One of our medics reported a human soldier running on a broken leg. The bone was sticking out of his skin. He didn't seem to care. Another human was caught in an explosion. His armor was melted to his body. He tore it off, ripped the burnt flesh from his own arm, and charged at our forces barehanded. They weren't just surviving. They were adapting. We realized something else, something that should have been obvious. From the beginning, humans don't measure strength the way we do. It's not about muscle, or speed, or endurance. It's about refusing to quit. We became the prey at first. We hunted them. Now, we were the ones being hunted. Every night, we lost more soldiers. The humans moved unseen, striking from the shadows, vanishing before we could fight back. Our warriors stopped sleeping. They were too afraid. The few that did rest woke up screaming, swearing they heard footsteps in the dark. Our scanners picked up nothing, but we knew better. We knew they were out there. We knew they were watching. We knew that the moment we let our guard down, they would strike. The moment everything broke. One of our strongholds was surrounded. We had the advantage. Walls, weapons, supplies, everything we needed to hold our ground. Then the lights went out. A voice crackled through the radio. A human voice. "You took our world, now we're taking it back." And then, in the darkness, we heard it, a sound that shattered what little courage we had left. Music. Human music. It started as a low, steady beat, a rhythm that sent shivers down our spines. Then came the voices, singing, chanting, roaring. They were announcing their attack. They weren't sneaking in. They wanted us to know. They wanted us to feel it. When they finally struck, it wasn't a battle. It was a massacre. Our warriors, once the pride of the empire, broke. They ran, but there was nowhere left to go. Because we were trapped on a planet where the only thing more dangerous than the terrain was the species that called it home. Panic, chaos, desperation. This wasn't war anymore. It was survival. We thought we were the hunters, the conquerors. Now we were nothing but prey. The humans had shattered our confidence, crushed our morale, and picked us apart piece by piece. Now they were coming to finish the job. We had one last stronghold, one final position. If we lost this, we lost everything. We had to hold the line, but deep down we all knew the truth. There was no line left to hold. We fortified every entrance, every corridor, every weak point. Our engineers reinforced the barriers, tripled the guard rotations, and set up traps. It didn't matter. We weren't trying to win anymore. We were trying to delay the inevitable. The humans were ghosts, shadows in the night. Every hour, more of us disappeared. 1 minute a soldier was standing at his post, the next gone. No scream, no sign of struggle, just missing. The humans were inside the stronghold before we even knew it. They played with us. They didn't launch a full attack. Not at first. They toyed with us. Lights flickered on and off at random. Equipment failed for no reason. Supplies vanished. Air from storage. Then the whispers started, faint voices in the dark, too quiet to make out the words, but just loud enough to be heard. Some of us thought we were imagining things. Then we saw the scratches on the walls, the messages. "You should have left. We are still here. Run," one of our officers snapped. He opened fire on an empty hallway. He swore he saw something move, but when we checked, there was nothing, just his own bullets ricocheting back at him. We were losing without a single shot fired. Then, without warning, everything exploded. The humans, struck with terrifying precision. Every weak point, every blind spot, they knew them all. They had been watching us, studying us. The first wave of explosions collapsed our outer defenses. Fires broke out. Smoke filled the air. Panic spread. Then the real horror began. They didn't storm the stronghold. They didn't rush in recklessly like some mindless beasts. No, they picked us apart, one by one. They used the smoke, the darkness, the confusion. Every time we turned a corner, someone else was missing. Every time we tried to regroup, they struck from behind. They moved faster than we could react. It wasn't a battle, it was a slaughter. No escape. We tried to flee, tried to reach the emergency transports, but the humans had already taken the hangar. By the time we arrived, the ships were burning. The escape routes were blocked. We were trapped. One of our commanders tried to negotiate. He called out over the comms, offering surrender. No response. Then we heard footsteps, heavy, deliberate, getting closer. Out of the smoke, a human stepped forward, alone. No armor, no weapon in hand, just standing there staring at us. Then he smiled. "You wanted this war." Another step forward. "Now you have it." Then from the shadows behind him, dozens of eyes, hundreds, the rest of his kind, emerging from the darkness. Silent, watching, waiting. Our commander fell to his knees. He knew it was over. We all did. The humans didn't execute us. They did something worse. They let us live. They let us see everything we had built burn. They let us feel the shame of defeat. The surviving officers were rounded up, marched through the ruins of our own stronghold, forced to see the bodies, the wreckage, the sheer destruction, and then they sent us back to our empire, back to our leaders, back to tell them exactly what happened. They didn't just beat us, they broke us, and as we fled that cursed world, one thought haunted us, one question echoed in our minds. What would happen if the humans ever came for us again? We left that battlefield as ghosts, survivors but not warriors. There was no celebration, no pride, no tales of valor, only silence. The humans hadn't just defeated us. They had redefined what war meant. And now, as we drifted through space, heading back to our homeworld, one question burned in our minds. What have we learned? The war that wasn't a war. This wasn't a war. Not in the way we understood war. We had expected grand battles, fleet engagements, planetary invasions, tactical victories. Instead, we got annihilation. The humans didn't play by our rules. They didn't fight for honor or glory. They fought to win, and they won before we even realized we were fighting. We had underestimated them. We thought we understood their limits. But humans don't have limits. They adapt. They endure. They refuse to die. The strangest part, the humans didn't have superior technology. They had fear, not their own, ours. They used it, turned it into a weapon. They didn't charge into battle with reckless abandon. They made us fear the dark. They made us fear our own minds. They broke us before the first shot was even fired. We had the numbers, the resources, the training. None of it mattered, because by the time we realized the true battle had begun, we had already lost. So what do we take from this? How do we recover from this humiliation? Do we seek revenge? Do we try again? No. The only intelligent path forward is to never make this mistake again. Never assume a species is weak just because they seem fragile. Never believe that war is about who has the biggest fleet. Never fight humans unless you have no other choice. Because when they fight, they do not stop. They do not break. And worst of all, they do not forget a warning to the galaxy. Our leaders will want answers. The Empire will demand an explanation. But there is only one truth to tell. We fought humans, and we lost. We lost everything. And if the galaxy is wise, they will learn from our mistakes, because if humanity ever decides that war is worth their time, no one will survive.